This is a great question. Let's look at it. To set the scene, this was when Jesus was on the cross. And what he's referencing is Matthew 27:46. It says, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? So before we answer why Jesus said that, we need to know why he was there in the first place. So to summarize, God is holy. So when Adam and Eve sinned and disobeyed God, there was a separation that happened between us, humanity, and God, because us, being unholy and unrighteous, could not be in relationship with our holy and righteous God. And because of our sin and disobedience, we deserve death and separation from God. But God doesn't want this. But the only thing to save us from this separation would be a perfect, pure sacrifice that could take our place in that death and separation. And God so loved us that he sent his only Son, who is God and who is perfect and pure, to come to earth and to be our sacrifice. So because Jesus became human and he was on earth, he can fully understand us and relate with us because he experienced what we experience. It says in Hebrews 4:15, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weakness, but we have one who has been tempted in every way just as we have, and yet he did not sin. He felt the temptation of sin, but he did not sin. He also felt the betrayal of his closest friends. He felt the denial from one of his closest friends who said he didn't even know him. He also felt physical pain. Jesus went through so much, but the hardest thing that he went through was this, when he was on the cross saying these words. So what was actually happening in this moment was God the Father was laying all the guilt and shame our sin deserves, and God the Son took it on himself perfectly. And this act satisfied the judgment of God. Charles Spurgeon explains it this way. In Jesus' question of why God, we can imagine God's answer to be this: because, my son, you have chosen to stand in the place of guilty sinners. You, who have never known sin, have made the infinite sacrifice to become sin and receive my just wrath upon sin and sinners. You do this because of your great love and because of my great love. And so the separation from God that we feel because of our sin, God the Son also felt that when he took our sin. It was a withdrawal from fellowship with God the Father. That's what he was feeling. However, it wasn't complete separation. Jesus was not completely separated from God the Father. In 2 Corinthians 5:19 it says, God was in Christ at the cross, reconciling the world to himself. And after Jesus died, he then rose from the dead, defeating the power of death and separation so that we could live for him for eternity. It's so beautiful. Now it's also important to note that this was a direct fulfillment to a prophecy. Jesus is quoting Psalms 22:1, where it also says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus was fulfilling this prophecy in its hardship and in its victory. Because later in the psalm it says, you have answered me. I will declare your name to my brethren. I will praise you. What is beautiful about this story is that Jesus truly took our punishment that we deserve. He felt the pain and the hardship that we go through. Jesus understands and he can empathize with us. We, humanity, we can go to our God, Jesus, with everything, and he understands.